Hi guys! For anyone that doesn't know me, my name is Blythe and I am the Education Officer at Dundonald Castle. So while we're stuck in, for the next few weeks at least, I'm going to be doing a sort of medieval Monday, and every Monday I'm going to be showing you one bit of armour or a weapon that we have in the castle and talk to you a little bit about what it's used for and why we have it. So this week might seem a little boring, but it's actually really important. We are going to talk about padded armour or quilted armour. So dictionary.com defines a gambeson or quilted armour as quilted garment that goes under mail. So I'm going to show you a picture, and in this picture our castle keeper Dave is wearing a white gambeson. It's the padded looking shirt under his chainmail. A gambeson, sometimes also called padded or quilted armour, is a padded jacket which was worn for defence. Sometimes people wore it by itself, though it was often accompanied by chainmail on top, like you see in this picture. Dave has the chainmail coif. So here I have a gambeson. It's not the same one that Dave is wearing, but it's just another one that we have at the castle, and this one, as you can see, has no sleeves. Now gambesons came in all sorts of different shapes and forms, so this one would be put over you, and then you might have sleeves that you could tie onto it. Similarly, this arming cap was a padded cap, and it ties here underneath your chin. Now, while you could wear it by itself if you were poor, most people wore this underneath their chainmail as an extra pad to keep you protected from any blows you might take. Stylish, isn't it? In Europe, padded armour goes back as far as the 10th century, so over 1,000 years ago, but it became more popular in the next few hundred years and would have been very common garment to wear during the time that our last castle was inhabited, so about 650 years ago. So what is it made of? Well, both this arming cap here and this gambeson are going to be made of multiple layers of fabric, multiple layers of linen. As you can see, there's a top and a bottom, and in between there's going to be something to pad it. That's what helps keep you safe. So sometimes it could be wool, sometimes it could be spare bits of fabric. Pretty often it was horsehair just brushed off your horse. So if you were a knight at that point, you'd probably have a lot of horsehair laying around. It'd be a pretty handy thing to pad your armour with. What does it weigh? Well, that question's probably not super interesting when asked about this, but in the coming weeks we're going to ask these same questions about different bits of armour, and those get pretty heavy. Actually, these are pretty light. Imagine about as much as your winter coat. So it's light, but if you're wearing it out in the hot weather, it can get pretty tough. In Europe, padded armour, so gambesons and arming caps, could have been used by pretty much everyone, from the poorest soldier to the noblest knight. The difference is that if you're a really poor soldier, this might be all the armour you'd be able to afford. So you'd be wearing this and just hope that nobody hits you too hard with something sharp. But if you're a nobler knight, if you're a wealthier man, then you're probably going to be able to afford to put some other armour over this, like in this picture. This picture shows a man visiting our castle and visitor centre wearing both the gambeson with chainmail over it and then a tabard over that. So that helps keep him safe, and you can tell he's noble because he has a tabard with his very own crest. In this case, that's actually the Steward crest, the one that belonged to the family that built Dundonald Castle. So what are the different variations of padded armour? We've talked about this a little bit. Sometimes padded armour was worn by itself, in which case it'd probably be a little bit thicker and it might cover a little bit of your neck. Sometimes chainmail sleeves were sewn directly onto gambesons, onto the longer sleeve ones to make them stronger. And sometimes, of course, they came sleeveless, like this one we have here. This might be worn as is, or it might be worn with sleeves that were tied on that came separately. Later versions made specifically to go under armour were called arming doublets, and these might have bits called arming points, so really strong pieces where you could tie on your exterior armour. While padded armour has been around in Europe for over 1,000 years, it died out in fashion about 300 years ago. And even before that, lots of people were replacing padded armour for leather armour, which would have been slightly easier to make and lighter, and a little bit more flexible too. So that's all I have about padded armour. If you're interested in learning a little bit more about padded armour, about arming caps, about gambesons, I'll put some links in the comments below so that you can follow those and read a little bit more about it. So thanks so much for joining me this week. Next week I'll be back to talk about chain mail, next week on Medieval Monday. So come back for that. And if you really enjoyed this video and want us to continue making more from the castle, please consider going to the castle's Facebook page or to our website and making a small donation to our education team. Thanks so much.